Okay, so moving on to the gear differential for the B6.2. This is the same differential that was for the B6.1. So they haven't changed much about the gear diff yet. And I'm going to show you how to assemble this. There's quite a few parts to it, a lot more than the ball diff. Okay, so these little seals go on the ends of the planetary gears, so I'll show you what that looks like. Just like that. Okay, so all the 4 seals are on there. Now we can go ahead and mount them onto the center here. And each one of them is going to get one of these shims. Just like that. Okay, so now that that's done, we can set that aside and go ahead and move on to the diff housing. And I want to get a little bit of diff fluid on here and put this seal in there and do the same for the other one. Just keeps everything in place. And then I can put the 2 out drives on either side of the diff. Just like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is put the sun gears on. And in order to do that, we need to put these little pins in. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to put these washers in also, or these shims. There we go. Put a little bit of fluid in there so that there's some fluid under the gear, and then drop your gear on the pin, just like that. Now, some folks, when they run stock, will remove 2 of the planetary gears just to give them a little bit less rolling weight, which might be a good idea when you're running stock. So here's where we're going to fill the diff, and there's a certain method I like to use to fill the diff also. So I'll fill it about halfway with fluid, and this is nice and flowing, so it's not too much of a deal. For some diffs that have heavier fluid, you can go up to 1 million for like a center diff, for example, in a 4-wheel drive car. It's a little bit more challenging. You got to wait a little bit longer for the diff oil to settle. But once you put this in, press the center down and make sure that the gears are meshing with the planetary. So you can just kind of move it around a little bit, and you can see that they're turning, so that you've got the right action on that. And then I'm actually going to take this gear off and make sure that the fluid is flush. And this is the easiest way that I've found to make sure that your diff is full to the right amount. So it's looking pretty good right now. Just a tiny bit more in the center. Okay, one thing about the diff you'll notice is it has these 3 notches here, and then there's not one here. And in order to balance that out, that's so we can get that pin in. And in order to balance that out, they put a notch on the outside here. So you want this one that doesn't have a notch to line up with the one that does here. So we're going to put this down like that so that the notches are evenly spaced and we've got the same weight distribution throughout the whole housing. Just going to get a little bit of this on the gasket. You don't need a ton, but you can see it's starting to get rid of some of that white that was on the gasket. And just kind of soften it up a little bit so that'll make a good seal. And then the gasket just fits right over those holes. Okay, we'll tighten this one down. You don't need a ton of pressure on these. And you want to make sure that your diff functions once it's tight, and this feels pretty good. So there we go. There's a B6.2 geared differential.